Well, it's brew day today, actually brew afternoon. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm just entering the temperature of my grains before I crush them. And what I'm making today is a Dirty Bastard clone from Founders Brewery, one of my favorite beers, Founders Dirty Bastard. I'm not measuring my own grains today. I'm using Maris Otter, which I don't have on stock. It just costs too much per bag. So I bought the entire grain bill at my local homebrew store. It's about, where is it? 19 pounds of grain total. 19¼ pounds of grain. So we need to fill the hot liquor tank. I need to go to the mill station and grind the grain, so let's get going. Alright, I'm filling my hot liquor tank up, but I wanted to show you this little filter gizmo I made. I found the plans online. It's just a little household filter, some PVC pipe for a downspout, and a garden hose hookup. And I'm shooting for 7 gallons for my mash, and another 4.5 to 5 to sparge with afterwards. So I'm just going to fill this up to 13 gallons. I may have to add a little more during the sparge, I don't know. But I'll deal with that once I get to it. All right, I've got 19¼ pounds of grain, probably a little more. I think I'm closer to 19.4. But anyway, I'm going to put it in the mash tun now because I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to underlet today and see what that gets me. So the grain goes in now. So my plan is when the strike water in the hot liquor tank reaches my set point, which is 165 degrees, I'm going to pump it from the hot liquor tank into the bottom valve of the mash tun, filling the mash tun from underneath the grains upwards. That's called underletting. Give it a shot, see what happens. So let's take a look at the recipe while the strike water is heating. We're at 116, by the way. It's a clone of Founders Dirty Bastard. I found this online. Normally myself, I like to keep my grain bills simple. I wouldn't use all this. But I'm going to trust the person who published it, and as a starting point, see how this turns out and do some tweaking of my own afterwards if need be. This might be the winner, who knows. 15½ pounds of pale malt, 1 pound each of brown malt and Special B. 8 ounces each of Cara Pils, Cara Munich, and Cara Vienna, and 4 ounces of black malt. It has East Kent Goldings and Perle hops. The yeast is Scottish Ale Y yeast 1728, and as you see, I noted at the bottom, I used 2 packages, made a 2¼ liter starter. And according to Beersmith, that gets me up to the yeast cells that I need for this big beer. All right, here we go. I've never underlet before, so this will be a first. I can see the water level in my strike tube. I have a little clip here, office clip, that I set at just above 7 gallons. That's how much water I want to mash with, just over 7 gallons. When the water gets up to the top of my clip, I am done. And the grain right about here. So this is going to be kind of a thick mash. Yeah, see some moisture there? I want to be sure and turn this off when the water gets to the top of that clip. Should start heading over to the pump switch right about now. There we go. Close this off. Close that off. Close that down. And now I can start stirring in my grains. All right. It's a thick mash, but that's okay. So now I'm going to take a temperature reading. That can't be right. Getting readings of about 150, which isn't bad. It's not where I want to be. So I need to start recirculating and getting this this wort circulating through the Herms coil in this 165 degree hot liquor tank, and that'll bring the temperature of the mash up. You see at the top of the mash tun temperature probe is the measured temperature, and the bottom is where I want to be. So I'm recirculating through 165 degree water. I'm actually going to bump that up to mash out temp. And this is slowly raising. My initial strike water was 165 degrees. My mash, I'm shooting for 152. That should have done it. But this is the third brew on this system where I've undershot my mash quite a bit. Oh, let me zoom out. I'm guessing that somewhere in the transfer between hot liquor tank and mash tun, I'm just losing a bunch of temperature somewhere. Through the pump, through the hoses, something. Temperature loss as it absorbed through the grain. I thought that underletting would help solve that problem, but I guess I'm just going to have to start mashing even hotter, not mashing, excuse me, striking even hotter than I'm used to. Brand new system, brand new learning curve. All right, got 30 minutes left in the mash. I've already cleaned my fermentation vessel. I got it sanitized, ready to go. I thought I would pour a pint of the cream ale that I made last time. Now, the color is nice and pale. It's not clear. But then again, I didn't take any steps to ensure clarity. I didn't filter it all when I transferred it into the fermenter or from the fermenter to the keg. I didn't use gelatin or any of that. It's just homebrew. It's a cream ale. It's meant to be like a lawnmower beer, easy drinker, something that the Bud Miller Coors crowd will like. It's not my favorite beer. I looked over here because my wife is sitting on the porch. This is made for her. She loves it. It's a little thin for my tastes. It's just under 5% alcohol, which isn't bad. But the taste, it's just not as robust as I like. I like the porters and the stouts and the Scotch ales. It is what it is. All right, I'm just hooking up the last of the hoses for my fly sparge. And that'll go from hot liquor tank into the mash tun, through the grain bed, out the bottom, and into the boil kettle. All right, now that I've got the flow set fairly well between the three kettles, I'm going to unplug the heating element from the hot liquor tank, and since I'm over top of the coil, it's safe to start heating this. Plug that in. Set this to boil mode. Power's at 100, and we're starting to heat our boil kettle now. And I'm going to put my first wort hop addition in. 1/2 ounce of East Kent Goldings. I've got all the wort I need in the boil kettle. I've got my first wort addition hops in there, and I've got the boil coil on at 100% power. We're going to be boiling soon. Just starting to boil, so I'll start my boil timer and I'll add my 90-minute hops right now. All right, here we go. 1 ounce of East Kent Goldings. This is the 90-minute hop addition. It's the first, well, not the first. The first hop addition was the first wort before the boil began. But this is the first of the boil additions. And each of my neighbors has their dogs out. All the dogs are barking at each other. All the owners are screaming at the dogs. So, typical brew day at the Gable Road Brewery. Okay, so there's the timer for the end of the brew day. I'm going to turn the power off to the boil coil. I'm going to throttle down the flow of the wort into the chiller, and turn on the garden hose, which will flow cold water from the faucet in the opposite direction through the counterflow chiller, and chill down our wort. So, let's go. Okay, so I've got a thermometer on the hose coming from the boil kettle into the chiller. And we've already dropped from boiling to under 150. I'm guessing with my garden hose today, with temperatures near 80, I might be able to get upper 60s. If I get around 60, I'll be happy. Dropping pretty quick. We're already approaching 140. So that's 10 degrees just since we started looking at the thermometer. All right, I am a happy camper. The temperature has dropped down to 60, actually a little bit below, looks like 59. I'm looking at it upside down. But that's exactly where I want it to be. I wanted to pitch my yeast at 60 degrees. So I don't have to do any additional cooling or waiting after I put this in the fermenter. I can put it in the fermenter, aerate, pitch the yeast, and I'm good to go. All right, I would love to use my new conical from SS Brewtech to ferment in, but I have no way of heating and chilling. I want to ferment in the low to mid 60s to start with, and the ambient temperature right now is 61. I know that the fermentation by itself will ramp that up almost 10 degrees. So 70, 68, 70, That's probably too warm for this beer. So, back to the tried and true SS Brewtech bucket. I've taken it apart to clean and sanitize. I need to do a few things to put it back together, so let's do that. Okay. This fits in there, and the next unit is the blow-off hose. Alright, that's done. Set that aside. Got a clean bucket right there. It's time to transfer some wort. Make sure the ball valve is closed. Six gallons. Right on the mark. All right, next we pitch the yeast. Old beer.